The Deep Space Monitoring Station hummed with an electric tension that few had experienced before. Rows of holographic displays flickered with endless streams of cosmic data, most of which typically represented nothing more than background noise of the universe. But today was different. Chief Science Officer Lyra Voronin leaned forward, her cybernetic implants interfacing directly with the station's advanced sensor arrays. Something extraordinary was happening. The signal they had detected was unlike anything in the Stellar Concordance's extensive database of planetary communications. Most exploration teams would have dismissed the faint radio waves as mere cosmic interference, but Lyra had built her career on pursuing the improbable. Her team represented the most advanced research division of the Interstellar Exploration Consortium, a collective of species dedicated to mapping and understanding the galaxy's emerging civilizations. The signal originated from a seemingly unremarkable star system on the galactic rim, a region typically ignored by most advanced civilizations. Preliminary scans revealed a yellow-white star with several planetary bodies, one of which showed promising signs of complex atmospheric composition. But it was the communication pattern that truly captured their attention. Most emerging species produced rudimentary, predictable signals. Radio waves that spoke of basic technological development, usually accompanied by primitive mathematical sequences or simple electromagnetic broadcasts. This signal was different. It carried multiple layers of complexity, suggesting a level of technological sophistication that defied conventional understanding. Run another correlation analysis. Lyra instructed the station's central artificial intelligence. Her voice was calm, but her heart raced with scientific excitement. The AI's quantum processors began dismantling the signal, analyzing each microscopic variation with unprecedented precision. The research team gathered around the primary viewing station. Representatives from 6 different species, each with their own unique perspective on evolutionary development, watched in collective anticipation. There was Commander Zolrek from the crystalline species of Viridian Prime, Dr. Shantara from the gaseous cloud intelligences of the Nephral Expanse, and senior researcher Krell, a silicon-based life form from the deep space research colonies. The signal contains multiple communication protocols, reported the AI, its synthesized voice cutting through the station's ambient noise. Detected patterns suggest simultaneous information transmission across multiple frequencies. Complexity index is approximately 847% above standard emerging civilization benchmarks. Zolrek's translucent crystalline form shifted with curiosity. Impossible. He communicated through a series of intricate light pulses. No recorded species has demonstrated such advanced communication capabilities at an early technological stage. Dr. Shantara's gaseous form condensed slightly, a sign of deep contemplation. The signal suggests more than just technological capability. There's an underlying creativity in its structure, almost like a complex neural network communicating multiple concepts simultaneously. Lyra zoomed in on the signal source, a blue-green planet that seemed almost unremarkable at first glance. Atmospheric composition showed a rich mixture of nitrogen, oxygen, and trace elements. Preliminary scans indicated extensive liquid water coverage and complex geographical variations. The planet's inhabitants called it Earth. Hours turned into days as the research team dissected every microscopic detail of the signal. They discovered encrypted layers that seemed to shift and adapt, revealing different information based on the analytical approach used. It was as if the signal itself was intelligent, challenging their understanding of communication. "We need a direct observation mission," Lyra finally announced. The standard protocol for encountering potential emerging civilizations involved a careful, non-invasive approach. Stealth probes would be deployed to gather more comprehensive data without risking direct contact. But something about this signal suggested that standard protocols might not be sufficient. The planet's inhabitants had already demonstrated an ability to communicate in ways that challenged the Stellar Concordance's most advanced understanding of interstellar communication. As the research team prepared their preliminary report, none of them realized that they were about to encounter a species that would fundamentally reshape their understanding of technological and cultural evolution. The signal from Earth was more than just a message. It was a declaration, a complex, multifaceted announcement of humanity's potential. The underground research facility beneath the Atacama Desert was humanity's best-kept secret. Carved deep into the bedrock, Project Horizon represented the most ambitious collaborative effort in human history, a global initiative that transcended national boundaries, political differences, and economic constraints. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display, her fingers tracing the intricate network of research stations spread across the solar system. Each node represented years of collaborative research, technological innovation, and preparation for a scenario most of the world couldn't even imagine. The project had begun quietly, almost accidentally. A seemingly random intercepted alien communication fragment in 2037 had sparked a radical shift in human thinking. What started as a speculative research program quickly evolved into a comprehensive global defense and exploration initiative. International scientific bodies had come together in an unprecedented alliance. Nations that had once been bitter rivals now shared research, funding, and technological breakthroughs. The United Nations Special Committee on Extraterrestrial Preparedness became the coordinating body, bringing together the brightest minds from every continent. Research stations orbited strategic points throughout the solar system. A network of advanced satellites and sensor arrays created a comprehensive early warning system. Each station was more than just a monitoring point. It was a potential defensive position, equipped with technologies that pushed the boundaries of human understanding. The quantum adaptive interface is showing remarkable stability, said Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka, leading the artificial intelligence research team. His holographic projection flickered slightly as he moved between physical and virtual spaces. Our predictive models suggest we can now process and adapt to unknown technological signatures in less than 0.03 seconds. The AI system they had developed was unlike anything in human history. It wasn't just a computer program. It was a dynamic learning entity capable of processing multiple potential scenarios simultaneously. Unlike traditional AI, this system could genuinely think, adapt, and strategize. Nearby, a team of quantum physicists worked on adaptive shield technologies. Their breakthrough involved creating a molecular-level defensive system that could rapidly reconfigure its structural integrity based on incoming threat signatures. Early simulations showed the potential to neutralize various forms of energy weapons, gravitational disruptions, and other theoretical attack methods. Dr. Rodriguez reviewed the latest data from the orbital research platforms. Each station represented a different aspect of potential extraterrestrial interaction. Some focused on communication protocols, others on defensive technologies, and a select few on potential diplomatic approaches. "We're not just preparing for conflict," she often told her team. "We're preparing for understanding." The solar system itself had become humanity's first line of defense. Strategic positioning of research stations around Jupiter, Saturn, and the asteroid belt created a natural early warning network. Each station was self-sufficient, with advanced stealth technologies that could render them virtually undetectable to external scanning. Military strategists had been brought in to develop unconventional approach strategies. The goal wasn't to create an aggressive defense system, but a responsive, adaptive network that could protect humanity while remaining open to potential peaceful interaction. Deep within the facility, quantum computers processed countless potential scenarios. Machine learning algorithms developed by a global network of researchers ran constant simulations, preparing for every conceivable type of extraterrestrial encounter. Dr. Marcus Chen, head of the Communication Research Division, had developed a revolutionary approach to potential alien languages. His team had created adaptive translation algorithms that could potentially decode communication patterns based on mathematical and logical principles, rather than relying on traditional linguistic approaches. "We're preparing for a conversation," Chen would explain, "not just a potential conflict." The facility buzzed with a sense of purpose that went beyond traditional scientific research. This was more than a project. It was humanity's collective insurance policy. Every researcher understood the stakes. Every simulation, every breakthrough, represented humanity's potential to face the unknown. As the sun set over the Atacama Desert, the underground facility continued its work. Thousands of the world's brightest minds worked in perfect synchronization, united by a single goal: to ensure humanity's readiness for whatever might come from the vast, unknown depths of space. They were preparing not just to defend, but to understand. Not just to survive, but to potentially thrive in a universe far more complex and wonderful than anyone had ever imagined. The moment of first contact arrived with a precision that defied expectation. As the stellar Concordance fleet approached the solar system, their advanced sensors began probing the space around them, a routine procedure that had been executed thousands of times across countless emerging civilizations. Aboard the lead vessel, Fleet Commander Zolrek studied the incoming data streams with a mixture of professional detachment and scientific curiosity. Generations of exploratory missions had taught the Concordance that most emerging species followed a predictable pattern: initial confusion, followed by either submission or futile resistance. Earth would be different. The first indication came as a subtle disruption in their quantum communication networks. Most sensor officers would have dismissed it as a minor technical anomaly. But the human communication burst carried something unprecedented: a complex, multi-layered signal that simultaneously acknowledged the alien presence while demonstrating an absolute refusal to be intimidated. "Incoming transmission," announced the ship's primary communication specialist, her voice betraying the hint of confusion. "Communication protocol is unusual." The message was both a greeting and a warning. Encoded within a series of mathematical sequences and quantum-encrypted layers was a clear statement: humanity would not be a passive participant in this encounter. Deep within the solar system, a network of stealth vessels began to activate. These were not traditional warships in any conventional sense. Each vessel was a marvel of adaptive engineering, capable of reconfiguring its structural and technological capabilities in milliseconds. Quantum computing systems worked in perfect synchronization, creating a defensive network that was more of a living, thinking entity than a simple military formation. Commander Lauren Mitchell sat in the primary coordination center, her hands hovering over a holographic interface that seemed to anticipate her thoughts. The Global Defense Network, years of preparation compressed into a single, breathtaking moment of potential conflict, awaited her command. "Maintain defensive posture," she instructed, "but keep all communication channels open." The alien fleet's standard approach involved a hierarchical communication protocol that had worked for millennia. A simple directive would be transmitted, typically a demand for submission or categorization. They expected a response of fear, confusion, or primitive resistance. Instead, they received a masterclass in strategic communication. The human response was a precisely calculated quantum pulse that temporarily disrupted the alien fleet's advanced sensor networks. It wasn't an attack. It was a demonstration. A clear message that humanity understood the technological language of space warfare and was prepared to speak it fluently. Stealth vessels emerged from strategic positions around Jupiter, their adaptive camouflage systems making them nearly invisible until the moment of engagement. Each ship moved with an intelligence that suggested more than mere programmed responses. They were extensions of a global defensive strategy, thinking and adapting in real time. Zolrek watched in growing astonishment as the human vessels began to interact with the Concordance fleet. Traditional space combat involved preset attack patterns and defensive maneuvers. These human ships seemed to be writing an entirely new language of spatial engagement. Quantum computing systems aboard the human vessels analyzed the alien technological signatures faster than the Concordance could process their own defensive responses. Where most emerging species would show panic or aggression, humanity demonstrated something far more dangerous: a calm, calculated adaptability. "They're not just defending. one of Zolric's senior officers observed. "They're studying us." Each human vessel moved like a living organism, sharing information across a network that seemed to think and breathe as a single entity. Defensive capabilities shifted and adapted, creating a protective field that was simultaneously flexible and impenetrable. The encounter lasted mere minutes, but it would be remembered for generations. This was not a battle in any traditional sense. It was a complex communication, a statement of capability, of potential, of a species ready to engage with the universe on its own terms. As quickly as it began, the confrontation reached an unspoken resolution. The human vessels didn't destroy the alien fleet. They simply demonstrated that destruction was an option, but not the only option. Commander Mitchell allowed herself a slight smile. Humanity had just introduced itself to the galaxy, not as a victim, not as a conqueror, but as an equal. The universe would never be the same. The research facility buzzed with an energy that transcended typical scientific excitement. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display, analyzing the data from the recent encounter with the alien fleet. What had just occurred was more than a defensive maneuver. It was a comprehensive demonstration of humanity's technological capabilities. The core of their breakthrough lay in a revolutionary approach to artificial intelligence and adaptive computing. Unlike traditional AI systems that followed predetermined algorithms, the Human Defense Network represented a quantum leap in technological thinking. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka explained the concept to a group of international researchers. "Our AI isn't just a computer program," he said, his holographic projection highlighting complex neural network diagrams. "It's a living, learning system that can process and adapt to unknown technologies in near-instantaneous timeframes." The system they had developed operated on principles that challenged everything known about computational intelligence. Each defensive vessel contained an artificial intelligence that was more akin to a collective consciousness than a simple computer network. These AIs could analyze incoming technological signatures, predict potential threat vectors, and develop countermeasures in milliseconds. During the encounter, the human vessels had demonstrated an unprecedented ability to interface with and neutralize advanced alien technologies. Their quantum computing systems didn't just defend. They learned, adapted, and transformed in real time. Dr. Maria Santos, leading the quantum interface research team, broke down the technical details. "Traditional defense systems rely on preset responses," she explained. "Our system creates responsive solutions. It doesn't just block an attack. It understands the fundamental principles behind the attack and develops a comprehensive counter-strategy." The breakthrough came from an unexpected combination of disciplines. Quantum physicists worked alongside neural network researchers, computer engineers collaborated with xenolinguists, and theoretical mathematicians shared insights with adaptive design specialists. This interdisciplinary approach had created something truly revolutionary. Each human vessel contained what researchers called a dynamic response matrix, a computational system that could reconfigure its entire operational parameters in less than 1,000th of a second. When faced with an unknown technology, the system would analyze the technological signature, identify potential threat mechanisms, develop multiple potential defensive and counter strategies, select and implement the most effective approach, continue learning from the interaction. The alien fleet's advanced technologies have been neutralized not through brute force, but through an intelligent, adaptive approach that demonstrated a fundamental understanding of technological principles. "We're not just defending," Dr. Rodriguez often told her team. "We're engaging in a form of technological dialogue." The quantum adaptive interface developed by the research team represented a paradigm shift in computational thinking. Traditional AI worked within defined parameters. This new system could create its own parameters, learning and evolving with each interaction. During the encounter, human vessels had demonstrated abilities that seemed to defy conventional understanding of space warfare. They could redistribute energy systems instantly, create adaptive camouflage that went beyond simple visual concealment, predict and counter technological attacks before they were fully implemented, communicate and coordinate across vast distances with unprecedented efficiency. Researchers from the Stellar Concordance who later studied the encounter were left speechless. The human technological approach suggested something more than advanced engineering. It represented a fundamentally different way of understanding technological interaction. Dr. Tanaka's team had essentially created an artificial intelligence that could think creatively. It wasn't just processing information, it was interpreting, understanding, and innovating in real time. The implications extended far beyond military applications. This approach to artificial intelligence could revolutionize fields ranging from medical research to deep space exploration, from environmental management to complex problem solving. As the research team continued to analyze the data from the encounter, they realized they had created something extraordinary. It wasn't just a defensive system. It was a new form of technological intelligence that challenged everything previously understood about computational capabilities. Humanity had just introduced itself to the galaxy, not just as a species capable of defending itself, but as a civilization with the potential to fundamentally reshape understanding of technological evolution. The universe would never be the same. The central communication hub of the Stellar Concordance erupted in a cacophony of translated communications. Representatives from multiple star systems struggled to process the unprecedented encounter with humanity, a species that had completely defied every established protocol of first contact. Senior Coordinator Zolrek stood at the primary communication console, his crystalline form pulsing with a complex array of colors that reflected deep cognitive processing. The preliminary reports from the reconnaissance fleet challenged everything the Concordance understood about emerging civilizations. It's impossible, argued Representative Kathax from the gaseous intelligence clusters of the Nephral Expanse. His communication tendrils flickered with agitation. No emerging species demonstrates such technological sophistication. The mathematical models suggest it's statistically improbable. The communication chamber represented a marvel of interstellar diplomacy. Holographic projections displayed representatives from over 60 different species, each processing the encounter through their unique perceptual frameworks. Some saw potential threat. Others saw unprecedented opportunity. Dr. Lyra Voronin, head of the initial research team that had first detected the human signal, presented a comprehensive analysis. Her presentation detailed the multiple layers of complexity observed in the human technological approach. "This isn't just advanced technology," she explained, her voice translated across multiple communication spectrums. "This represents an entirely new paradigm of technological evolution." The Concordance had a well-established protocol for dealing with emerging civilizations. Most species followed a predictable pattern of development: technological growth, internal conflicts, potential self-destruction, or gradual integration into broader galactic societies. Humanity had just written an entirely new chapter in that understanding. Emergency sessions were convened across multiple research institutions. Xenotechnological departments worked overtime, analyzing every microscopic detail of the encounter. The human vessels had demonstrated capabilities that seemed to blur the lines between technological engineering and adaptive intelligence. Representative Shkera from the Molecular Intelligence Networks raised a critical point. They didn't just defend themselves. She communicated through a series of complex light pulses. They communicated. Their response was a form of dialogue, not merely a defensive reaction. The diplomatic implications were profound. Most first contact scenarios involved either complete submission or aggressive resistance. Humanity had introduced a third option: a sophisticated, nuanced approach that suggested a civilization far more complex than initial observations had indicated. Research teams began compiling comprehensive reports. The human technological approach challenged fundamental understanding of artificial intelligence, computational theory, and interspecies communication. Each analysis revealed new layers of complexity. Their adaptive systems suggest a form of intelligence that goes beyond traditional computational models, noted Dr. Marcus Chen, leading the Communication Research Division. They're not just processing information. They are interpreting, learning, and evolving in real time. Debates raged across multiple planetary governments. Some advocated for immediate defensive preparations, viewing humanity as a potential threat. Others saw an unprecedented opportunity for technological and cultural exchange. The Concordance's central research database began a comprehensive reanalysis of all previous emerging civilization data. Humanity represented an anomaly that required a complete reevaluation of existing scientific models. We cannot categorize them using traditional methodologies, Zollrek finally concluded after hours of intensive deliberation. This is not a species to be studied. This is a species that will require us to study ourselves. Emergency diplomatic protocols were drafted. The standard first contact procedures, which had remained unchanged for thousands of years, would need to be completely redesigned. As the galactic community processed this extraordinary encounter, one thing became increasingly clear. Humanity had not just entered the galactic stage. They had fundamentally changed the nature of the stage itself. The universe watched and waited, understanding that everything was about to change. The United Nations Extraterrestrial Diplomatic Center stood as a testament to humanity's carefully crafted approach to first contact. Located in a purpose-built facility near Geneva, it represented the culmination of decades of preparation, research, and strategic planning. Ambassador Marcus Rodriguez adjusted his communication interface, preparing for the most significant diplomatic meeting in human history. The central chamber had been designed with input from anthropologists, linguists, quantum communication experts, and cultural specialists from every corner of the globe. The diplomatic team was unlike any previous international delegation. Researchers had spent years developing a comprehensive approach that went far beyond traditional diplomatic protocols. This wasn't about submission or conquest. It was about mutual understanding. Dr. Elena Nakamura, the lead xenolinguistic specialist, had developed a revolutionary communication framework. Language is more than words, she often explained to her team. It's a complex system of cultural understanding, mathematical principles, and adaptive communication. The initial communication platform represented years of collaborative research. Multiple layers of translation systems worked simultaneously: mathematical sequences, quantum-encoded messages, and adaptive linguistic algorithms that could interpret communication beyond traditional verbal or written forms. Representatives from the Stellar Concordance arrived through a carefully orchestrated quantum communication portal. The delegation represented 6 different species, each with unique communication methodologies. Where previous diplomatic encounters might have dissolved into misunderstandings, humanity had prepared something entirely different. The chamber itself was a marvel of adaptive design. Holographic interfaces adjusted in real time, creating communication environments that could accommodate the physiological and perceptual needs of multiple species. Environmental controls shifted molecular structures, creating comfortable spaces for beings with radically different biological requirements. Ambassador Rodriguez began the communication with a series of mathematical sequences, a universal language that transcended individual species' communication barriers. The message was clear and multifaceted. Humanity was prepared to engage as an equal, not as a subordinate or a potential threat. We do not seek conquest, the initial communication explained. We seek understanding. We offer collaboration, not submission. The Concordance representatives found themselves confronting a diplomatic approach that defied their thousands of years of first contact experiences. Most emerging species approached such encounters with either fear or aggression. Humanity presented a third option, a nuanced, collaborative potential. Dr. Nakamura had developed what her team called adaptive communication protocols. These weren't simple translation systems, but complex frameworks that could interpret communication beyond verbal language, understand cultural and technological context, provide multi-layered communication options, adapt in real time to different communication styles. The diplomatic team had prepared comprehensive research packages. These weren't just scientific reports, but holistic presentations that demonstrated humanity's potential for collaboration. Areas of potential exchange included advanced computational technologies, adaptive artificial intelligence research, quantum communication methodologies, innovative problem-solving approaches, cultural and artistic exchanges. Representative Zollreck from the Concordance observed the human approach with growing fascination. The delegation wasn't presenting themselves as a potential conquest or a primitive species to be catalogued. They were presenting themselves as potential partners. We understand that our technologies and cultural approaches are different, Ambassador Rodriguez communicated. But difference does not mean conflict. Difference means opportunity. The communication went beyond simple verbal or technological exchange. It was a profound statement of philosophical approach, a demonstration that humanity viewed the universe as a collaborative space of mutual discovery. As the initial diplomatic session progressed, it became clear that this was more than a first contact. This was the beginning of a fundamentally new approach to interstellar relationships. The universe watched and waited, understanding that everything was about to change. The Global Research Center in the Swiss Alps became the epicenter of an unprecedented technological transformation. Scientists from every corner of the globe gathered, their collective excitement palpable as they began to explore the technological exchanges initiated with the stellar concordance. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic display, her fingers tracing the intricate networks of shared research. What had begun as a cautious first contact had evolved into the most significant technological exchange in human history. The Concordance researchers brought with them technologies that challenged everything humanity understood about scientific possibilities. Quantum communication protocols that could transmit information across impossible distances. Adaptive material sciences that could reshape molecular structures in real time. Energy generation techniques that made human fossil fuel technologies seem primitive by comparison. But humanity's contribution was equally transformative. The human approach to technological development was unique. Where most advanced civilizations had become somewhat stagnant in their technological progression, humans demonstrated an extraordinary capacity for creative problem-solving. Their research methodologies emphasized adaptability, interdisciplinary collaboration, and a willingness to challenge existing paradigms. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka's team had already begun integrating alien quantum communication principles with human adaptive AI systems. The results were revolutionary. They were developing communication networks that could literally think, adapt, and evolve in real time. It's not about the technology itself, Dr. Tanaka explained to his international research team. It's about the approach to technological development. We're not just receiving technology. We're engaging in a collaborative dialogue of innovation. The research exchanges covered multiple disciplines. Quantum computing. Alien technologies provided breakthrough insights into multidimensional processing. Human adaptive AI systems offered revolutionary approach to problem solving. Combined approaches created computational systems that could predict and solve complex problems with unprecedented accuracy. Material sciences. Concordance researchers introduced molecular restructuring technologies. Human engineers developed adaptive application methodologies. Collaborative research produced materials that could change properties in response to environmental conditions. Energy generation. Alien zero-point energy technologies. Human innovative implementation strategies. Potential solutions to global energy challenges. Medical research. Advanced regenerative technologies. Adaptive treatment methodologies. Potential for addressing previously incurable conditions. The global scientific community worked with an intensity that transcended national boundaries. Research facilities around the world collaborated in real time, sharing insights, challenging assumptions, and pushing the boundaries of human understanding. Dr. Maria Santos, leading the interdisciplinary research team, described it as more than a technological exchange. This is a fundamental reimagining of how we understand scientific progress, she said. We're not just learning new technologies. We're learning new ways of thinking. The most remarkable aspect was humanity's approach to the exchange. Unlike many advanced civilizations that became complacent with their technological achievements, humans approached each new discovery with a sense of wonder and possibility. Universities redesigned entire research methodologies. Educational systems were transformed to emphasize adaptive thinking, interdisciplinary collaboration, and creative problem-solving. The technological revolution extended far beyond scientific research. It was reshaping human society itself. Global challenges that had seemed insurmountable began to find potential solutions. Climate change mitigation technologies, advanced medical treatments, sustainable energy solutions, space exploration capabilities that expanded human understanding of the universe. The Concordance researchers found themselves equally transformed by the exchange. Humanity's approach to technological development challenged their own long-established research paradigms. They were encountering a species that didn't just receive technology. They'd reimagined it. As the first year of technological exchange concluded, it became clear that this was more than a simple transfer of knowledge. This was a fundamental transformation of how intelligent species could approach scientific and technological development. The universe watched, understanding that everything was about to change. 10 years after the initial encounter, the transformation of galactic society was complete. The United Nations Interstellar Collaborative Center stood as a testament to a new era of exploration, understanding, and mutual growth. Ambassador Marcus Rodriguez looked out over the vast assembly of alien and human representatives. The chamber itself was a marvel of adaptive architecture, a physical representation of the collaboration that had reshaped the known universe. The stellar concordance had undergone a complete restructuring. What was once a hierarchical system of technological and cultural categorization had transformed into a dynamic, collaborative network. Humanity had introduced a radical concept: progress through mutual understanding rather than dominance. Dr. Elena Nakamura, now leading the Interspecies Cultural Integration Research Division, reflected on the journey. Humanity's approach had been fundamentally different from any previous emerging civilization. They hadn't sought to conquer or be conquered. Instead, they had offered a new model of interstellar cooperation. The technological exchanges had yielded unprecedented advancements. Space exploration, quantum communication networks that allowed instantaneous communication across vast distances, adaptive propulsion technologies that reimagined space travel, collaborative exploration initiatives that brought together multiple species, environmental restoration, advanced planetary rehabilitation technologies, adaptive ecosystem management systems, sustainable development approaches that balance technological progress with ecological preservation, social development, cross-species educational exchange programs, collaborative problem-solving methodologies, cultural understanding frameworks that celebrated diversity. The most profound changes were not technological, but philosophical. Humanity had introduced a way of thinking that emphasized adaptability, creativity, and collective growth. Where previous galactic civilizations had become stagnant, trapped in established patterns of thought, humans brought a sense of continuous innovation. Representative Zolrek, who had been part of the initial First Contact mission, now served as a primary diplomatic liaison. His crystalline form pulsed with colors that reflected deep contemplation. Humanity did not just join the galactic community, he often explained. They reimagined what that community could be. Educational systems across multiple star systems were transformed. The human approach to learning, emphasizing critical thinking, creative problem-solving, and interdisciplinary collaboration, became a standard model of intellectual development. Scientific research underwent a complete paradigm shift. No longer were disciplines siloed or restricted by traditional boundaries. The human model of collaborative, adaptive research became the new standard of scientific exploration. Global challenges that had once seemed insurmountable found innovative solutions: climate restoration technologies, advanced medical treatments that could address previously incurable conditions, energy generation systems that provided sustainable power for entire planetary systems. The diplomatic protocols developed during the initial contact became a blueprint for future interstellar interactions. It wasn't about submission or conquest, but about mutual understanding and collaborative potential. Dr. Hiroshi Tanaka's work on adaptive artificial intelligence had revolutionized computational thinking. AI was no longer seen as a tool, but as a collaborative partner in problem-solving and exploration. Humanity had entered the galactic stage, not as a conquering species, but as a bridge builder. They had demonstrated that technological advancement and cultural understanding could go hand in hand. As the assembled representatives discussed future collaborative initiatives, it became clear that something extraordinary had occurred. A species that had once been considered a potential threat was now recognized as a vital catalyst for galactic progress. Ambassador Rodriguez addressed the assembly with words that would be remembered for generations. "We are not here to lead or to follow. We are here to learn, to grow, and to understand. Our strength lies not in our individual capabilities, but in our collective potential." The universe continued to expand, filled with possibilities that had never been imagined before humanity's arrival. Everything had changed.